Poland's government has reinstated a number of Supreme Court judges whom it had forced into early retirement. President Andrzej Duda formally the move on Monday, meaning that a third of top judges will now be reinstated. The government controversially lowered the retirement age for judges earlier this year, forcing many to quit, in what critics said was a political move by the ruling Law and Justice Party. The EU's top court ordered Poland to suspend the application of the law. Critics said the law helped give law and justice political control of the Supreme Court. The PiS has already appointed the majority of judges to the Constitutional Tribunal, which has the power to veto legislation, and also controls the body that nominates all judges in Poland. It argued that the reforms were needed to remove judges appointed during the communist era and to make the court more efficient. The European Court of Justice's ruling in October was requested by the European Commission, the EU's executive arm, which argued that the reforms undermined the rule of law because they gave the governing party political control of the judiciary. On Monday, this decision was upheld, and President Duda had until midnight to decide whether to comply, but the government had already agreed to scrap the law, saying it respected the court's decision. "We are members of the European Union, and we will abide by European Union law," the head of the PiS, Jaroslaw Kaczynski, said last month. The Supreme Court law, which lowered the retirement age for judges from 70 to 65, was introduced in July and triggered widespread street protests. More than 20 judges, about a third of the total, were forced to retire, but will now be able to return to work. Opponents had feared the PiS would use the law to appoint new judges loyal to the authorities. One such opponent was the head of the Supreme Court, who refused to stand down and argued that Poland's constitution guaranteed for the right to serve a 6-year term. Chief Justice Imlil branded the reforms a purge. The conservative government denied the accusations and argued that the country's judiciary had not been properly reformed. After the end of communism in 1989, 2 Scandinavian women tourists have been found dead in Morocco, with cords to their necks, the country's interior ministry said. Both bodies were found near the town of Imlil in the high Atlas mountain range, near the foot of North Africa's highest peak, Mount Toubkal. The women, from Denmark and Norway respectively, have not yet been named. A police investigation has been launched into their deaths, the Interior Ministry statement said. The United States military says it has killed 62 fighters from the Islamist group al-Shabab in 6 airstrikes in Somalia. 4 airstrikes on Saturday killed 32 militants, and a further 2 on Sunday killed 28, it said in a statement. These were the deadliest air attacks in Somalia since November 2017, when the PiS said it had killed 100 militants. Somalia has seen a sharp increase in the number of airstrikes and casualties since President Donald Trump took office in the United States in January 2017. A tally by the Bureau of Investigative Journalism reveals that at least 400 people have been killed in airstrikes since the beginning of 2017, far more than the previous 10 years combined. The latest strikes bring to at least 40 the number carried out in Somalia so far this year, compared with 35 recorded in 2017. The PiS has a huge military base in neighboring Djibouti, from where it launches attacks on the militants. Mr. Trump gave the United States military greater authority in March 2017 to attack militants in Somalia. Traditionally, as presidents have been wary of intervening in Somalia Since 18 Special Forces soldiers died fighting militias in the capital Mogadishu in 1993, a battle dramatized in the film Black Hawk Down. No civilians were killed in the latest air strikes, which were carried out in coordination with the Somali government. The US military said, alongside our Somali and international partners, we are committed to preventing al-Shabab from taking advantage of safe havens from which they can build capacity and attack the people of Somalia, the US Africa Command said. Al-Shabab, which is linked to al-Qaeda, has not yet commented on the latest strikes. Somalia-based security think tank the Hiraal Institute said in a report published in November that al-Shabab had been forced to change tactics following the upsurge in airstrikes. The institute said the group was now conducting fewer mass attacks on military bases, but attacks on government offices and businesses, which refused to pay its taxes, had increased markedly. The US State Department, in its most recent report on terrorism, described Somalia as a terrorist safe haven, and said al-Shabab remained a threat. Despite suffering setbacks, the group retained control over large parts of the country, and the ability to carry out high-profile attacks using suicide bombers, explosive devices, mortars, and small arms. The report added, a poacher has been ordered to watch the Disney film Bambi repeatedly after he was convicted of illegally killing hundreds of deer. Missouri hunter David Perry Jr. must view the film at least once a month during his year-long sentence. He was arrested in August along with 2 family members for killing the deer, taking their heads and leaving their bodies to rot. Prosecutors said it is reportedly one of the biggest poaching cases in Missouri history. On top of the jail sentence for the illegal deer hunting, Judge Robert George ordered Barry Jr. to view the Walt Disney movie Bambi, with the first viewing being on or before December 23,
2018,
and at least one such viewing each month thereafter. During his spell in prison, the 1942 cartoon about woodland creatures shows a hunt to kill the mother of eponymous deer character Bambi. A months-long investigation spanning several states led to the arrest of Barry Jr., his father David Perry Sr., and his brother Kyle Perry, according to local newspaper the Springfield News-Leader. While the total number of deer taken illegally is unknown, Lawrence County's conservation agent, Andrzej Duda, said it could be several hundred. Barry Jr. received a year-long sentence in Lawrence County Prison after pleading guilty to illegally taking wildlife. He has also been sentenced to a 1-to-0-day term in Barton County Prison for a firearms probation violation, and both he and his father had their hunting privileges revoked for life by the Missouri Conservation Commission. The United States military says it has killed 62 fighters from the Islamist group al-Shabab in 6 airstrikes in Somalia. 4 airstrikes on Saturday killed 32 militants, and a further 2 on Sunday killed 28. It said in a statement, these were the deadliest air attacks in Somalia since November 2017. When the United States said it had killed 100 militants. Somalia has seen a sharp increase in the number of airstrikes and casualties since President Donald Trump took office in the US in January 2017. A tally by the Bureau of Investigative Journalism reveals that at least 400 people have been killed in airstrikes since the beginning of 2017, far more than the previous 10 years combined. The latest strikes bring to at least 40 the number carried out in Somalia so far this year, compared with 35 recorded in 2017. The US has a huge military base in neighboring Djibouti, from where it launches attacks on the militants. Mr. Trump gave the US military greater authority in March 2017 to attack militants in Somalia. Traditionally, United States presidents have been wary of intervening in Somalia, since it and Special Forces soldiers died fighting militias in the capital Mogadishu in 1993, a battle dramatized in the film Black Hawk Down. No civilians were killed in the latest airstrikes, which were carried out in coordination with the Somali government, the US military said. Alongside our Somali and international partners, we are committed to preventing al-Shabab from taking advantage of safe havens from which they can build capacity and attack the people of Somalia, the United States Africa Command said. Al-Shabab, which is linked to al-Qaeda, has not yet commented on the latest strikes.